welcome to the Stitch Sessions. Are you ready for something super cute and adorable? This week, we are working on this really cute baby blanket, but it's called the Bugsy Baby Blanket. Can you tell why? It's got this really cool texture, but if you look closely, you will see some little bunnies. And if I just pull that apart there so you can see where the ears are, isn't that cute? So it's just made up of some cluster puff stitches and regular cluster stitches. And you've got this little bunny-like effect. I just love it. And I was inspired by Allison's crochet channel. She actually did a whole blanket just using the cluster stitches, the cluster V stitches. And she actually called them bunny ears. I will leave a link to that particular tutorial in the description box down below. She does an amazing job of just explaining her tutorials. So if you just want to look at just the V stitch, for example, or anything else in her channel, she's really, really great. I always look forward to seeing what kind of projects she has coming up. So again, I'll leave that a link to her channel in the description box down below. So that's what gave me the idea to create the full bunny head. So we use what I call the cluster puff stitch stacked with the cluster V stitch and then just a row of half double crochets. And this is what it looks like on the back. So we made it so that there is a back side and a front side. So you can see the front is where the puff stitches really come through, and the back side is where it just lays a little bit more flush. But you can see kind of the back of the bunny heads there. Isn't that cute? And I love how this fun self-striping yarn kind of really worked its way in there. It's just so sweet, so cute. It's got a lot of cushy texture, so if you can see the puff stitches are really coming up there. Really nice and cozy, perfect for a spring baby, a winter baby, a fall baby, really any time of the year. It's done using a medium 4-weight yarn, so it's gonna have some nice warmth to it. It has that slightly lacy effect with the bunny ears, but you know, not too lacy. So it's kind of a perfect in-between blanket. And then we just finished it with this little scalloped edge here for a border using half double crochet shell stitches, which are really, really easy to do, which I will take you through. And by the way, if you guys are new here, my name is Karen, and I love sharing my love of crochet with you guys and crafting with crochet in any way possible. So I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. I'm glad you've joined me and you've come along for the ride. And for my regular crochet friends, it's always so good to have you here with me. So let's just dive right in. I'm going to quickly go over the yarn and the materials I used to create this baby blanket, and then we'll get right into stitching up our Bugsy blanket. Alrighty, so the yarn I am using is the Caron Cinnamon Swirl Cakes by Yarnspirations, and honestly, it was just the colors that drew me to this cake. I just love the idea of the springy type feel, spring-summer feel. The yellows, the lavenders, a little bit of peach in there. I just thought it was great. So this comes in, let me see here. So this comes in a 227 gram cake, which contains 407 yards or 372 meters. And for this project, you're going to need 2 cakes of this yarn, okay? And it is a medium 4-weight yarn. It calls for a 5mm hook, but I'm actually going to use a larger hook for this project. I'm going to be using a 6.5mm hook, which is also known as a K or a 10.5, for those of you that go by that label, okay? It's just going to give me a nice relaxed drape, and it's just going to really bring out the cushiness of this design. As always, make sure you have a pair of scissors on hand and a yarn needle to sew in your ends. And remember, a yarn needle is different than a thread needle. See how big that eye is? And that way you can get your yarn through. All right, guys, let's dive in. Okay, so we're going to begin by placing a slip knot on our hook. And this design requires you to chain up in multiples of 3 plus 2. So for my blanket, I'm going to chain up 99 chains, and then I'm going to add 2 more at the end. So I'm going to chain up 101 chains. As always, when you're first doing any of your initial foundation chains, really try to be aware of not chaining too tightly, because that's going to cause your work to bunch at one end. As always, if you are a tight crocheter, I recommend you going up a hook size or 2 to do this first chain. So I'm going to go ahead and do 101 chains. Okay, so I have my 101 chains, and as you can see, they're nice and relaxed. And so now we're going to begin row number 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to find the second chain from the hook. Remember that we never count that loop that's on the hook. So we have 1 and 2. And into that chain, we're going to do a half double crochet. Now, some people would like to have 2 chains, but we're really not even going to count this chain as anything. Now, for this project, because I want to have a nice finished edge, I'm actually going to work into the back bumps of the chain. So I'm going to turn my work over, and you can see there are these little bumps here. So that is what I'm going to work into. So I'm going to count 1 and 2, and into that back bump, I'm going to work a half double crochet stitch. So I'm just going to help it along there. You always end up having 3 loops. You'll yarn over, and then you pull through all 3. And there is your first half double crochet. So I'm going to do that into every single back bump along my chain. And so at the end of row number 1, I should have 100 stitches in total. Okay, so go ahead and do that, and I'll meet up with you when we're ready to take on row number 2. Okay, so I've completed row number 1. You can already see the colors are starting to change. How pretty is that? So there you can see the bottom edge. See how nicely it's finished when you work into the back bumps? And there's the top. So we're going to go into row number 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And into the very first stitch, we're going to place a single crochet. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we are going to create the little heads of our bunnies here. And we're going to do that by creating a cluster puff stitch. So we're going to yarn over, and into the very next stitch, we're going to insert our hook and pull up a loop. I want it to be nice and relaxed. Then we're going to yarn over and go back into that same stitch to pull up another loop. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 loops on the hook right now. Now we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go into the next stitch, and we're going to pull up a loop, and we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go into that same stitch and pull up another loop. Okay, so this could be called the puff stitch 2 together if you really want to be picky. So right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 loops on my hook. I'm now going to yarn over, and I'm going to pull through 8 of these loops. So I'm going to pull through all of them except for that last one there. So I have 2 loops on the hook, and now I'm going to yarn over and pull through those 2. So that just secures that puff right in there like that. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the following stitch, and we are going to place a single crochet. And you can see when you do that, it actually crunches this puff down and it pushes your stitch out. Now, depending on the side, you can always push them in this way as well. But for now, we're just allow them to push out. So that's what the other side is going to look like. Okay. So once you've done that, you will then move into the next stitch, and you're going to repeat that. So you're always going to separate these cluster puffs with a single crochet. So the cluster puff always takes up 2 stitches, and then the single crochet is the third. So this is why we're doing this in sets of 3. Okay. So now we're going to yarn over, insert into the next, pull up a loop, yarn over again, and pull up a loop. So we always insert and pull up twice, and then we go into the next stitch and we do the same thing. Insert, pull up, and insert, pull up. So I have 9 loops on my hook. yarn over, pull through 8, and then yarn over, pull through 2. And then into the next stitch, I place a single crochet. So that single crochet forces that puff to really crunch down. See that on the other side? Now you can really see the texture there. And that's basically the repeat for row number 2. Into the next stitch, you will create that cluster puff, or the puff 2 together. So that takes up 2 stitches. You'll always pull through 8 of the stitches. And then you single crochet. Okay? And it's going to curl a little bit. That's totally normal. And there you go. So this part is going to be the front of the blanket. All right, so you know what to do now for row number 2. So do that all the way to the end. And then I will meet up with you right at the end, and I'll start talking about row number 3. Okay, so I just finished doing my last cluster puff, and I've got 1 stitch left, and I'm going to single crochet into that at the very end. And row 2 is now complete. Now we're going to turn our work. So look at how cute that is with the color change. So some of you that have been counting might have thought, wait a minute, we are shrinking the number of stitches that we have. Because when we create the puff and the single crochet, that's only 2 stitches. And we used up 3 stitches to create this. Now, you would be absolutely right. However, there is a method to my madness. First of all, it actually was a mistake I initially made. I was supposed to show you guys that there is a chain 1 when you complete this cluster puff, and then you single crochet. So I'll show it to you a little bit here in this little video clip here. So that is initially what I meant to do, but once I realized that it was happening, I was just about done this row. And actually, I like the fact that without the chain, it actually crunches in these little puffs a little bit more. They look like little baubles there. So I'm going to keep it this way. It is not going to affect the stitch count. I'm going to show you why in row number 3. So here we go. Row number 3, you will begin by chaining 3, 1, 2, and 3. You will turn your work. And now we are going to work the cluster V-stitch. So a lot of clusters in this design. So now I want you to kind of turn your bobble, and you're going to see that there is the stitch right here that was created by the bobble and the stitch where the single crochet goes. We are actually going to work into not the stitch above the bobble, but that little space there where remember we only went through 8 loops. And we pulled through, and then this loop was once we pulled through all of them. We are going to be working right into there. So that way our little ears look like they're coming right out of the puff. So into that little area there, we are going to work our puff V-stitch. So you'll yarn over, insert your hook into that space, pull up a loop, as if you're going to do a double crochet. So you're going to yarn over, pull through 2, and now you're going to leave that there unresolved. You're going to yarn over, go back into that same space, pull up a loop, and now yarn over, pull through the first 2. So now you have kind of like 2 partial double crochet stitches. Now what you're going to do is you're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2 here. So see, that pinches these 2 stitches together. And then you will yarn over again and pull through the remaining 2. So that's what creates that cute little ear-like effect. Then we're going to chain 1, and this is where we're going to get our stitch count back. And then we're going to go back into that same space and create another cluster stitch. So you're going to go right into there and start a double crochet as usual, but don't resolve it. Then yarn over, go back into that same space, start another double crochet. So now you have 2 unresolved. Yarn over, now we're going to pinch those 2 together by pulling through 2, and then we're going to create a little point by pulling through the last two. So that is your cluster V-stitch. So you have a cluster and a cluster with a chain one in the middle. So now you have 1, 2, 3 stitches. So by bringing back the chain stitch, you're going to regain your multiple of 3s, okay? So now you can see that the little bauble here, you've got 2 little ears that stick out from it. So it might be hard to see at the beginning. So this is what you're going to do for row 3. So you will skip that single crochet, find your bauble, and remember, we're not working into the top part of the stitch. We're working right into the top portion of the bauble there, okay? So we're going to do another cluster V-stitch, yarn over, insert into that spot, and begin a double crochet, but don't resolve it. Yarn over, go back in again, and do another, or begin another double crochet, just like that. Then yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops, then yarn over, pull through the second 2 loops. Okay, so there's your next set of little ears there, or 1 ear, I should say. And then we always chain 1, and then we go back into that same spot and do that again. So we always put that cluster stitch in there. So we begin 1 double crochet, we begin a second double crochet, pull through 2, and pull through 2. And there's our little second set of ears. See that? Pretty. Okay, so that is the repeat for row number 3. This is the final row of our repeat. So row 1 was the half double crochets, row 2 was the cluster puffs, and row 3 was the cluster V-stitch. All right, guys, you've got quite a ways to go. So I'm going to finish row number 3, and I'm going to meet up with you at the end to just take you through working row number 4. Okay, so I've come to the end of row number 3, and you can see how the little bunny ears come out, and there's the little bobblehead there. Of course, you can see the colors are changing. So love that dark purple and the light purple. See that? Okay, so we're at the end, and we've got 1 stitch left. Now, we started with the chain 3 on that end, which typically represents a double crochet stitch. Now, you can certainly double crochet here, but because this is a single crochet and it's sitting just a little bit lower, because remember with that puff stitch, the puff itself, it has a little bit of height, and then when we single crochet, it crunches it down. So I experimented, and you may want to experiment with yours too. And for me at the end, I do like to do an extended double crochet. So it's very similar. You yarn over, you insert your hook, and you pull up a loop. And when you yarn over, don't pull through 2, just pull through 1. So that gives us a little bit of extra height. And then I yarn over and pull through 2. And then I yarn over and pull through 2 again. So it gives it a little bit of extra height. So it's going to sit nice and flush here. And it doesn't kind of bunch in the edge. And of course, we want to make sure our edges sit nice and flush. Look at that. That's beautiful. So if you want to, you don't have to, because see here, this single crochet, for whatever reason, just kind of is able to kind of sit up high. But it probably could have used another chain. So I would chain 4 in future. That was a little boo-boo there. I was experimenting. I would chain 4. If you are super loose crocheter, then chain 3 is plenty for you. But chain 4 at the beginning of row number 3 when you're repeating. And then at the end, we're going to do an extended double crochet stitch. So this is the repeat for this pattern. You're now going to continue repeating row 1, then 2, then 3. So row 1 is just 1 half double crochet into each stitch. Row 2 is those cluster puff stitches using up 2 stitches and then a single crochet. And then row number 3, and by the way, this is where we kind of decrease the number of stitches we have, but then row number 3, we increase back up again with our cluster V stitches. Now I'm going to start you off with row number 4, just so you can really see the effect of our little V stitches here. So like I said, row number 4 is going to be a repeat of row number 1. So I'm going to chain 1, really relax. Some people would chain 2 here. In this particular project, I'm just going to chain 1. And then I'm going to half double crochet stitch into the very first stitch, just like that. And that is what I'm going to do into every stitch across. So into the next stitch, I'm going to half double crochet. And now I have the chain space. So I'm going to go into the chain space and I'm going to half double crochet. See? And by going into the space, it really separates the cluster stitches, which creates that bunny ear-like effect. So again, I'm going to go into the next stitch, half double crochet, and continue on. Super easy. So row 1 of this repeat is probably the easiest and the quickest one to do. Just like that. Okay, and then when I turn it over, so you can see that, see? The ears are really now nicely pronounced. Okay, so I typically would have left you guys here, so go ahead and finish row number 4 and then continue repeating 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 until you get the length of the blanket that you desire. So I am creating mine widthwise, and so I will create the length up this way. Now, I created my blanket with a definite back side and a front side. When you go into row number 5, which is going to be a repeat of row number 2, you're actually going to be doing it facing this side. Now, when I was creating the puffs here, and I then did a single crochet, the puffs pushed to the other side, or yeah, pushed to the other side. So if you do it here and it pushes to the other side, your puffs are now going to be on this side, which is no big deal. So you could continue doing it exactly like that. And this would make your blanket actually reversible. It would be the same on the front as it is on the back. If, however, you would like to have a definite front side to your work and a definite back, then meet me back here for row number 5 when we're going to repeat this. And I'll show you how you can make sure that no matter which side you're working on, your puffs always end up facing the front of your work. So I'm going to finish this row number 4 and I'll meet back up with you here shortly. Okay, me again. I'm coming back on here to show you an alternative because I was repeating row 1 exactly as is, which was super cute. And then I just decided I kind of didn't like how it was just disrupting for me the bunny ear shape, or it wasn't really defining. But then I decided instead of doing 1 into each of the 3 stitches, why not place 3 of the stitches inside the chain space? And I really like how that came out. See, it creates a bigger gap here, so you can really see the little bunny ear effect. So that is actually what I'm going to do for row number 4, and that should be your repeat from then on, anytime you do row number 1. But again, I wanted to show you both ways. So if you do 1 into each stitch, it's going to look like that, which there's nothing wrong with it. But I really like this. So you have the choice. Either way, this will keep your stitch count the same, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly go and redo my row number 4 this way because I really like that. Look at how that looks. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to redo row number 4 and I'll be right back. Okay, there we go. Much better. Okay, so I have 1 stitch left. So you're going to find the top of that chain 4 or the chain 3, whatever you do. So you don't want to go into this stitch because that belongs to the V. We're going to go into the top of that chain and we're going to half double crochet, and that's what's going to finish off that row. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to repeat row number 2, which has our puffs. So we're going to chain 1, turn our work. Look at how adorable that looks. Love it. Okay, so we always start by placing a single crochet in the very first stitch right there. And now we're going to create that cluster V stitch. So we've got 3 stitches to work into here. So we're going to yarn over into the next one, pull up once, pull up twice, into the next one, again, pull up once, pull up twice. Yarn over, pull through 8 of the 9, and pull through again. So see that little spot? That's where we end up putting the cluster V stitch. So normally what happens is into the next stitch, we place a single crochet. Now see what happens here? naturally it's going to crunch down and the puff is going to go to the opposite side. See that? So there's a puff here. So if I turn over, the puff goes here. So that's not a big deal if you want it to be reversible. I really like the idea of having an actual front to this blanket. So what you can do is just make sure that you push the puff to the front. No big deal, okay? So I'll do it again here. So into the next one, we're gonna do that puff, pulling up twice in each stitch, and then into the next stitch. I'm gonna pull up once, and I'm gonna pull up twice. And then what I could do is as I pull through, I could already have my finger here and keep that puff to the front, see that? And so when I single crochet, can already be there. Now sometimes our hook gets in the way, things like that. So I'm just gonna single crochet. See how it naturally wants to push out to the back? Just take your finger and push it to the front. And sometimes you wanna kind of tighten down that single crochet. And that's it, that's all. So that is how you can keep all of your puffs to the front, and then you can keep the front side, and then the back side of the blanket should stay nice and flat. And there you have it, guys. So I think you're gonna have a lot of fun. I'm just adoring working on this design. So this is where I leave you. You're now gonna repeat. So let's say, because row 4 ended up being a little bit different than row 1, let's say you're gonna just continuously repeat row 2, 3, and 4. And you keep going until you get the length of your blanket that you desire. Then I'll meet back up with you here and we can talk about doing a border around our sweet little Bugsy Baby Blanket. Okay, so I have used up my 2 entire cakes, which I love because I don't like having little bits left over. And so my blanket looks like this and it works out perfectly. So I have 30 inches across and I have 24 inches in height. And so generally these are the kind of sizes I like to make. People usually are using baby blankets in car seats or strollers, things like that. And I think especially for the 0 to 6 months, this is a really, really great size. So I'm very happy with how it came out. Look at how pretty these colors are. Look at the little bunnies kind of standing out there. So I got a little excited and I started in on the border, and I actually did that because I wanted to see, I just had a wee bit left at the end of this purple and I just wanted to use it up to see how far I got. So I got down along one side and then I thought I don't want to buy a whole other cake, and I really did want to add some kind of trim. So I have this leftover pink yarn from another project. This is the Bernat Premium yarn. I love using this yarn for like baby blanket type items. So it's not exactly the same pink, but it's in the pink lavender family, and I thought it might make a nice little border. So I'm actually just going to be using a little bit of this for my border. So I'll just show you really quick. It's going to be done in 2 rounds. And so it's really, really simple. See, they're just little chain 3s. And it's just to kind of give it a nice little basic shaping. And then we're going to add a scallop detail at the end. So all I did is for my very last row, you can see I finished on the half double crochet row. And then I just continued. So once I placed my last half double crochet stitch there, I just chained 3, 1, 2, 3, and then I worked down the side here. So you can see that there. So I then slip stitched, I chained 3, and then I slip stitched. Now, where to place your slip stitches? You're going to basically work a slip stitch into the middle or the base of your double crochets along the side. When it comes to working into the sides of rows, other than single crochet, because single crochet rows are really easy, it's usually 1 stitch per row, I really encourage people to just eyeball it. So what you don't want is you don't want puckering and you don't want it to buckle. So as long as your edge is staying nice and relaxed along the edge, you're good. Now, this chain 3 is designed to create a little bit of a scallop, so that's okay. We just don't want it to pull the work in, like to bunch and buckle. So as you can see right there, see where I've just kind of tried to always put it maybe at the top of each double crochet row there. Okay, so that's what I've done all the way around. Now my purple is running out, but I'm coming around the corner here. So I'm just going to show you how you would go along the side and then go around the corner. Okay, so I've already chained 3 here, and now I'm just going to find the top of the next row, which is right there. I'm going to insert. I always try and have a couple of loops, and then I'm going to slip stitch. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Keep it nice and relaxed. And now I'm just going to go at the top of the next row there. So just where it kind of looks and feels natural. And it will sit pretty close to the edge. Like, we don't need it to be super rounded just yet. The next round of the border will create that. So then I chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. And right here, I'm just going to go right on the bottom. And that's our very beginning of our chain when we first started this project. So I'm going to go in there, I'm going to slip stitch, and then I'll just have to weave that in at the end. So the first side is done, and now I'm going to chain 3 again, 1, 2, and 3. And now I have stitches to work into along the bottom. So this is where you'll have to pay attention a little bit more. So what we're going to do is, we've already worked into this first stitch here. We're going to skip a stitch, and into the second stitch, we're going to slip stitch. Wow, that sounds like a tongue twister there. Just like that. Okay, so just allows you to come around the corner there. All right. So now we're going to continue doing the same thing. We're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. We're going to skip the next stitch, and into the following stitch, you're going to slip stitch. Really, really easy. So you can see the scallop a little bit more pronounced there than you can along the side. So that's all we're going to do. So when you're working along the bottom and the top, you're actually going to have stitches to work into. It's going to be a little easier to find your spot. And of course, when you're going along the side, you just really want to make sure that it's sitting nice and relaxed. So that's what we're going to do for round 1 of our border. You're going to continue all the way around. And then when you get back up to the beginning, so you'll come back around here along the top of the half double crochets. And when you get to here, which is where we first began the chain 3, I'll meet up with you and talk you through how we're going to go into the second round of our border. And just a reminder, so that's basically it. That's what's left of my last cake. And so you will see when I come back that I will have changed to the pink color, and I will continue with the second round of the border in the pink color. It's going to look so cute, guys. Okay, I'll meet you back here in just a little bit. All right, I am finishing up my first round and just finished my last chain 3, and there is where we started. So I'm going to slip stitch right into there. And your first round of your border is complete. And if you wanted to, you could just leave it just like that. It will look just as cute. And it's just a little bit more of a subtle little kind of ridge. But I want to create a nice scalloped look. And again, still a little bit more on the subtle side, but just adding a little bit more to that shaping. So here's what we're going to do for round 2 of your border. The final round is we're going to chain 1, and right where you slip stitch right there, we're going to place 3 half double crochet stitches. So it's like we're creating a shell stitch using half double crochet stitches. So there's the second one, and there is the third one, just like that. And then into your chain 3 space, we're just going to insert our hook, and we are going to slip stitch. Okay. Then anytime you see where you slip stitched after you chain 3, we're going to go into there and place our 3 half double crochets, or a little half double crochet shell stitch, if you will. So again, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then into the chain 3 space right next to it, we will slip stitch. See, so you can see it just really gives that top ridge a nice little rounded effect. I'm going to do that one more time with you guys. So where we slip stitch right there, so you can go into the top part of the stitch or you can go into where you slip stitch, totally up to you. I think I kind of like to go in there. And I'm just going to insert my hook, and that's where I'm going to place my 3 half double crochet stitches. Now, wherever you decide to go in, whether it's right there or down below, just make sure that all 3 of those stitches are going into that same spot because you want some uniformity there. And then we have our chain 3 space next to it, and we just slip stitch. Okay, there we go. So now you can see it's just accentuating that little scalloped edging. And that's it for our border on our Bugsy blanket. Love that. Look at how cute those bunnies are. All right, guys, so this is going to be it for the final row or round of your blanket. And once you're done that, you're going to weave in all your ends, etc. And I'm going to meet up with you here to show you the full reveal of my Bugsy blanket. Okay, so I have finished my border. So you can see it's just creating a little bit of a ripple, which is exactly what I wanted. Just a perfect little scallop and ruffle edging to this really pretty blanket. Look at those bunnies. Love it. So there we have it, the Bugsy Baby Blanket. Love how these colors came out too. So I hope you had fun working on this and found it fairly easy. Once you got into the groove of doing the 3 rows, you know, it's pretty straightforward from there. And of course you can make yours as large or as small as you like. Now, one thing you might notice is as you continue working, like for me, I can see that as I got to the end, the width of my rows started to kind of come in a little bit, and I could tell my gauge started to shorten. So I could tell that some of these puffs here are really shallow, whereas when I first started, I was really extra cognizant of being super relaxed with the puff stitch. So if you start to slightly tighten whatsoever, because you know you're pulling up several loops for those puff stitches, you will notice that your blanket may kind of scrunch in a little bit. So just be aware of that. It's important to take breaks as well. I got just too much into the groove, I guess, and I just wanted to get the blanket done. So I could see that that's what happened in the last few rows there. So I would maybe work on a few rows and then take a break, come back later or even another day, just so that your tension or your gauge can stay relatively the same. So you can see these puffs right here are actually pretty shallow, which I would have liked to make them puffier. But in any case, nothing a little bit of blocking couldn't solve as well. But just wanted to make you guys aware of that is normal, especially as we work on larger projects, that our gauge will change. Remember, if you have any questions, make sure to leave them for me in the comment box down below. Or as always, you can email me directly at info@crochetcrafty.com. I'm always more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And if you are new here and have liked this tutorial and would like to see, and if you're new here and really enjoyed this tutorial, I invite you to press that subscribe button. Come and hang out with me every Wednesday morning when I upload a brand new tutorial. And don't forget, make sure to click the notification bell, because that way you'll get a little ding, a little notification that I've uploaded the latest video. And as always, come visit me on the website, crochetcrafty.com. Lots of goodies there for you guys. And I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at The Stitch Sessions. So come over and say hi to me and tag me in your projects. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoy working on this. And as always, happy crocheting. Take good care of yourselves. And I will see you guys in next week's session. Bye-bye.